Donald Michael Walsh, W-A-L-S-H, September 3rd, 1930. Makes me younger than some people. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. Lying-in Hospital. My grandson was born there 50 years later.
Same place?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You born in a very good month, September.
September, yeah.
That's my...
I was born on Labor Day, actually. It's not a celebration. It's a holiday in this country.
So what school did you go through in Boston?
I lived in Belmont when I grew up, outside of Boston, about maybe 4 or 5 miles outside of Boston. Belmont, Massachusetts, and I graduated high school in 1948. And I went into the Army in 1952. Well, I went to Boston College, but we won't go into that. That didn't last long. I went in the service.
When did you go to the... when did you join the Army?
I didn't join. I was drafted 1952.
Oh, so
February 8th.
What did you do between 48 and
Well, I tried to go to college, but college didn't agree with me, or I didn't agree with them. So I went to work.
What kind?
In an insurance company in Boston. Just the only job you could get because you're waiting to get drafted. Lasted there till I went into service in 1952, on February 8th.
So you came to know the breakout of the Korean War while you were working in the insurance company.
Yeah, it happened I believe it was 1950. And there was a draft at that time. And,
what people say about the war? Do you remember?
I don't think they paid too much attention to it. They were questioning whether it was the thing to do or not to do, I guess, politically. You know.
What was people's opinion?
Well, I think they felt that President Truman did the right thing under the circumstances. You know, we had pledged allegiance to certain people and agreed to it. We had to support it.
Had you known anything about Korea at the time?
My uncle in World War II, when the war ended, he was one of the first troops to go into Korea after they kicked Japan out of there, and he stabilized it, I guess, part of his job. My uncle John McCann.
Michael?
John McCann, my uncle. My mother's brother. That's the only thing he ever heard of or knew Korea existed, as a matter of fact. He used to, when he came home, he used to show us on the map just exactly where Korea was. I had no idea where it was.
So you are the very few well-educated about Korea because nobody knew
no, they didn't.
Where Korea was.
Didn't know it was North Korea, South Korea. Had no idea. Yeah. And until that day, until after that, I never knew anything about it until I got there, to be honest with you. So, you know, some of the indoctrination we had in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Other than that.
You said that you were drafted, right?
Yep.
How people react to that draft?
Well,
compared to these days,
my friends and I, we didn't want to be drafted. We wanted to, we weren't interested in military service at the time.
You were not?
No, and I don't think many were in the group that I hang around with. I'm not talking about the others there, but as far as the reaction to the draft, it wasn't something we looked forward to it, but we didn't object to it either. Some of the controversy was that some people didn't get drafted, perhaps should have been. They were exempt and so forth.
Why? Why is they been exempted?
They go to school, for one thing. They go to college. They were exempt. They had jobs that made them exempt. They had a lot of money that made them exempt. But I don't think the majority of the people that I associated with, hung around with, school friends and buddies, I think we had any real problem with it. It was something we had to do, that's all.
But you never knew that you would be dispatched to Korea when you were drafted, right?
No. I had no idea. We had an idea we would be, but, you know, that's the chance you get. 50-50. You go to Europe, you went to FECOM, they call it, Far East Command.
So when you joined the Army, where did you go to receive basic military training?
I went to indoctrinated at Fort Devens. They took you up there, they processed you up there, and they sent me to Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is the home of General Patton's Tank Corps, 3rd Division. General Patton was a famous World War II general.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
tanks. And my training was basic training was at Fort Knox, Kentucky.
But you didn't know anything about tank at the time,
No,
right?
I didn't, no.
Yeah.
I saw them on TV and movies and stuff, but I had no interest.
How was military training? Was it hard?
It was difficult sometimes, yeah. Interesting, as we used to say. A big hot thing was the KP duties and that stuff, but it was interesting. It was something that, with my background and not something I used to do. Regimentation and the discipline was involved in the Army. It was, quite frankly, it's probably the best thing that happened to me in the long run.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So after the military training, where did you go?
After I went down to basic training,
Yeah.
I went to Korea.
Right after that?
I was drafted in February 8th, in Korea in July. They didn't fool around with it.
So you were in Korea before the Korean War?
No, 1952.
You said, oh, you drafted in 1952.
Yeah.
So-
February.
So that you...
Korean War, I've been on it for a couple of years.
Right.
Yeah.
So you knew that you were going to be dispatched to Korea?
No.
No.
No, when you were drafted, there was no determination where you're going to find out where you're going to wind up. You might wind up anywhere in the world that the United States was involved in, and it wasn't necessarily Korea. You could have gone to Europe. A lot of my friends went to Europe.
What was your first reaction to know that you're going to go to war to fight? Be honest.
Kind of frightening.
Be honest.
Kind of frightening, not something you think about or plan, I don't know how you describe it. I don't know. You're young. You don't. Who the hell cared? But you were concerned.
You were concerned that you might lose your life, right?
Yeah. That thought crossed your mind.
You're scared to death?
No, not at that time.
Not at the
Maybe
time?
I was too dumb to be scared. I don't know. You're young and you're foolish. You don't. Those things roll off. You divert your mind to some other thinking. You don't get bothered. You had a lot of friends, people you went through training with. You became very close with, and that kind of offset any fear you might have to a good degree.
How did your family
I don't know if
react
I'm saying
to
that
it?
well, my family, my father had been in World War I. My brother had been in the Navy in World War II.
Your uncle
And,
been in Korea too?
My uncles have all been in Korea, and one of my cousins was killed in World War II in China, Burma area, and so we're all associated with people who had been in the service. I think everybody in our family eventually was in the service. My brother, Navy, my other brother was in Korea. He served with me in Korea, in fact.
Let's start from your family. How do they react to the decision made that you're going to go to war?
Well,
The country
even
where-
at the time when I came home and leave for 3-day leave from Fort Knox, Kentucky, before I shipped out, there was no determination I was going to go to Korea. I was going to the Far East Command, which could have been Japan, it could have been Okinawa. I don't know where else it could have been. But generally speaking, the higher percentage that went to FECOM went to Korea.
So what did your father and mother say to
My
you?
father was the old school from Ireland, and he didn't have much to say. My mother was, of course, very concerned, had her prayer beads out, and rosary beads.
So how did you go to
My
Korea?
girlfriend got upset.
Oh, you did have girlfriend?
Oh, sure they had girlfriends.
What was her name?
Well, she's was my wife, but at the time. But my
For the
girlfriend-
record,
Elena,
Elena.
sweetheart, wonderful girl, wonderful girl.
She was really concerned.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
So what did you say to her?
I said,
Wait for me?
no. I waited. That's getting into too deep now.
You don't wanna-
60 years, 50, 60 years ago. I mean,
Okay. So Where did you go and how did you go to Korea? Did you fly or
No, with the troop ship.
where?
And,
When
out of
and
San
where?
Francisco. Out of San Francisco.
Where?
Camp Stoneman landed in Tokyo.
When?
No, well, I guess Tokyo.
When did you
Yokohama.
leave for Japan?
Let's say July '52.
Uh-huh.
And I always thanked the old merchant seaman I had that when I got on the boat. He said, "Hey kid, take the top bunk."
Uh-huh.
And I said, "What the hell I want the top bunk for? It's a lot easier on the bottom bunk, get in and out easy." He said, "Take the top bunk, kid." So I said, "Well, I'll listen to him. He's been in it for 30 years." And I found the Hawaii. Seasickness, right?
Yeah, right.
So you were above all the blah. We slept on the deck a few days. I was one of the few that didn't get sick on the boat. I think there were 3,000 or 4,000 on the boat.
Where did you arrive in Japan?
Yokohama.
Yokohama. And how long did you stay there?
Shipped us right up to Camp Drake, which is in Tokyo, I guess. So we're in Tokyo in Camp Drake for a couple of days, and they sent me down to Gifu, Japan, to go to CBR school, Chemical, Biological, and Radiological War School. Someone was pulled out to go down there. Spent a week down there and so forth, and then left from Sasebo to go to landed in Busan.
Busan. Any special
I
training
always
that
remember going into the Busan harbor, how calm it was. And I found out later it was the land of the morning calm, right?
any special training that you receive in Japan except the chemical and biological warfare?
No, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. How was
We'd already been trained for 12 weeks or so in
Right.
Fort Knox. Yeah.
Do you remember the day that you arrived in Busan? July or August?
I would guess it around the first week in August. I don't remember the exact date.
And what was
August.
the first impression?
Not very good. I was in a replacement wait to be assigned to the outfit I'm in, and I got guard duty that first night, and they left me out hanging there for, instead of 2 hours on, 2 hours, I thought it was 4 hours, so I wasn't too happy about that. But no, I wasn't, I had no impression. I was just curious where the hell I'm going to wind up. That's the basically, we're all kind of in limbo, as they say.
What was the scene that you saw in Busan? How was it?
Chaotic, I guess. A lot of ships landing and going in and out, troops coming in and out, mostly coming, and supply ships coming in. It wasn't. The war was way beyond that. It wasn't. Busan under siege or anything. That was up further, way up further. In '52.
How was the civilian life there?
Something. I don't know. That's hard to describe. Crowded, I'd say. A lot of people seem to be congested in that Busan area. I don't know if that's indicative of the country itself, big cities, but that was my first impression, very crowded. You know, people from my background were, of course, different than dress-wise and appearance-wise and so forth, you know.
So what was your first assignment after the Busan?
I was
Where
sent
did you
to,
go?
what they call the 3rd Division Repo Depot, replacement depot, where you were processed as to what outfit you were going to go to.
Where was that?
3rd Division replacement area.
The
It was up by Seoul University, if I recall.
Oh, Seoul University.
Might be up, not that far up, but it was up there.
Can you describe the scene? Can you remember the scene around the Seoul
Big and a lot of GIs running around, going to chow or leaving chow or doing a little parade mount, marching, playing softball.
You did?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what the hell to do with us for a while. In fact, I was the catcher in the softball team.
Oh, really? Any
There was
Korean?
a big Quonset huts. They were big Quonset huts. That's where you process it. Then somebody come down and took you to the outfit you're going to.
Any Korean soldier join you?
Yeah, a couple of Rock Division, Arrow, Rock, couple of Rock, Capital Division of Rock, Arrow, okay.
Many Kims or Park or
Oh,
Lee?
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, Mama-san, Papa-san.
Uh-huh.
He was our barber. Great guy, wonderful man. Yeah, we were attached to the Rock Division for a while.
So
The outfit I wound up joining was 64th Tank Battalion. That's what they called in our palace was a bastard outfit. We weren't permanently attached to any one division. We were assigned where we needed to go, so we were all over, back, left, right, up, top, anywhere we needed. Tank division, like mobile artillery.
So after you were assigned in the 3rd Division, and then you went up to
The
front
3rd
line?
Division, I was assigned to the 64th Tank
Battalion,
which was part of the 3rd Division,
right?
but only for permanent attachment. We were with the 2nd Division sometimes, the 15th Division. Wherever we were called upon, we were kind of mobile. We could move pretty quick.
But did you stay inside of the Seoul, or did you go up to front line?
Up the front
Tell me
line.
about the front line. Where were you, and what did you do?
I don't remember. The only numbers I remember over there. Yeah, we were Chowan Valley.
What?
Chowan Valley.
Cholwon Valley, yes.
And Kumar.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. They all have nicknames for all the others. I don't remember half of them. We covered the Rock Division when they were onto the. We overlooked the Turkish Brigade that was there for a while. Who else? British. We get involved with everybody, I guess. I don't remember the name. The only two I vividly remember is the Kumar and the Chowan. I think, what the hell was the other one? First day I was there. Crack Valley? Oh, we called it Crack Valley. I don't know what the hell it was. But we named everything.
Yeah. How was the situation in that front line at the time that you were there?
Well, it wasn't bad for us because we just went up and fired and went back home, went back to our bivouac area. The infantry had to sit up there in the bunkers and be there all day and night, so we ended up coming. They didn't want us coming around anyway because we attracted a lot of attention from the smoke. And they'd see that and they'd throw some rounds in. It was interesting.
But what I'm asking is, were there severe battle all the time at the time that you were there, or did you engage in a big battle? Did you shot so many?
Well, every day we went up, mostly every day we went up and fired whatever
Did you?
loads we had. Not every day, but, quite a few days. We'd just go up and fire, pick out. They'd give us a sight and mountain the other way. That's all about what we did. We didn't get in too many hand-to-hand type combat and stuff. As I said, we moved around. We covered the Triple Nickel, who got overrun one time. We had to bail them out, but then.
So mostly the front line was stabilized.
Pretty much so, yeah. Moved up, moved back and forth. From the time I was there, it was pretty much stabilized, give or take a few miles here and there. So it wasn't a lot of, like the early part of the war would be up through Seoul and beyond, and then all the way up the Yalu River, and then all the way back again. And I went back and forth through Seoul, I think, a couple or three times. In fact, got all the way out of Busan Peninsula just before I got there. And the Incheon landing from Nagata kind of cut it and pushed it back up. Once it got beyond the 38th parallel, I think the powers that be in Washington said stabilize it there. They wanted to see if they could negotiate a truce, I guess. I don't know.
Describe the typical day of your service. And you said that you are a tank driver, right? So what's it feel like?
In the tanks, when you're trained in every position of the tank. When I first got there, I was what they call a bog gunner, an assistant driver. No, I'm sorry, I'll back up. You're a loader. And inside the tank, it loaded the weapon.
Uh-huh.
Then you went to the bog driver, I guess. Everybody had to learn every position. And then I was the driver for a while. First thing I drove was the personnel carrier, though, which was not a tank. It was an open carrier that you transported infantry squads to different spots. You know, you had the just tank tracks and everything else, but you had the open, so they get 9, 10 guys and open it. Bring them up to the line, drop them on, and come back. That's the first couple of weeks.
How do you feel being in a tank?
I was fine. I was fine with it. I didn't have a
How
problem.
about in the summer? And wasn't it too hot?
No, not too bad.
Really?
You weren't in the tank 24 hours a day. You're in it some days 4 or 5 hours, some days, well, one time we had to sit in it for about 2 or 3 days, but other than that, you know, it was you drop the escape hatch out and get the air up in there. In fact, we picked up prisoners. I mean, we were wounded through that. But, no, you had the little openings. You could open up and get some air in. You didn't button up all the time. You had to open. The driver would have his opening. The gunner would have his, you know.
Were there any
When you button
dangerous?
up, it got hot.
Were there any dangerous moment in during your service?
Yep.
Tell me about it. What happened to you?
I don't remember a lot of it. We got cut off one time and lost the tank.
Oh, you lost tank?
Had to bail out, yeah.
Who were the enemy? The North Koreans or the Chinese?
Chinese at that time.
How was the enemy tank? Was it better than yours?
Never saw one too often. They had Russian tanks at the end. Chinese tanks. They got them from Russia, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Only time I saw them and when we had to move back when they signed the truce. We had to move back 1.5 miles. They put a buffer zone. What do they call it? Demilitarized.
Uh-huh.
3 miles. Each side had to move back 1.5 miles.
So the UN forces outpower in terms of the tank forces?
I don't understand you, huh?
I mean, you had more tanks and better equipment so that you guys outpower.
Yeah, I would think so. In my experience, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our Air Force was outnumbered them 10 to 1 too. I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But there was no war in the air at all. But as I said, when they stabilized the line, they just didn't move it 1/2 mile, and back and forth, and take this hill and lose it, and then take it back. The Marines and the infantry did all that. We just went up and get cover. Sometimes we'd have to go cover the roads while they peeled out. Cover the different spots and so forth.
Where did you stay? Were you in tent or?
Yeah, 5-man tent.
Uh-huh. 5 men?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
tank crew was 5 men. You stayed in the tank. The mess hall was a big tent. They had a beer tent set up, recreation tent.
Uh-huh.
Food was, our outfit was a small outfit, battalion. It was a headquarters company. It was a very, food was very, very good. Had a cook was fantastic.
What was your favorite?
Well, some of the food you did over there was hard to say, but we were lucky. You get eggs with powdered eggs. They turn green sometimes, I think. And milk was powdered. Once in a while, they get some fresh eggs in. Used to get a lot of liver, which nobody liked. SOS, which they cream chip beef on toast. They used to call it shit on a shingle. It was good though. I liked it. The food was, generally speaking, was pretty good when I was in Korea.
Yeah, compared to
surprisingly, and Repo depots were the worst food. Where they replacement there. There's so many people. The boat was terrible food. Going over and going home.
Let me ask you soap side of it. How much did you receive for your salary?
Well, when I got there, I was a private, and I was a private first class. No, when you get out of basic training, and you were private E1 and private E2, private first class, then corporal, sergeant, and sergeant first class. By the time I came home, I was a tank commander at the end.
Oh, how much was it?
Money-wise?
Yeah.
I'll be honest to God, I don't remember. I got combat pay. We used to get, they used to get $40 a month for combat pay over and above your regular pay. And I don't even remember what the hell sergeant paid, 'cause we didn't get paid. You agreed not to be paid, because what were you going to do with the money? There was nobody around us.
Somebody gambled, somebody went out
yeah.
to the city.
Oh, yeah. No, once in a while a guy disappeared, too. But there was no place to go where we were, It was too far. I went back one time with a friend of mine back to see a river. We were back right outside Seoul University, I think. The Air Force was in Seoul, and we had a camping outside it, we reached back
Yeongdeung-po.
there to get replacements. We had to get some of the guys that rotated home, some have been killed, so we had to get replacements. So I was down there so while we were down there, they had January 1st, New Year's Day in 1953, they had a big show come over there with Debbie Reynolds, some movie stars.
Debbie Reynolds there?
Yeah.
Good.
And a number of people. So we went over to Kimpo, where the hell that was.
Kimpo.
Yeah.
Where the air base was.
Yeah. It was a big show they had there. And it was entertaining, and we went back again.
Tell me about your old brother, that you were there with him.
He was going to college when I was in Korea, and he would graduate from college. Well, the minute he graduated, he got drafted because he was exonerated from draft while he attended college. And then he went to Fort Knox, Kentucky, too.
When?
Well, that was probably 1954. No, couldn't be 54. Probably graduated in 53, probably. He went to Korea after the war was over.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, I had a true story, but I had to go back to Seoul what was that? Oh, I had to go down back to 3rd Division headquarters. I was asked to take a Jeep and a driver to bring some papers down. But I don't know. I volunteered just to get the hell out of where we were for a while. We're back in reserve, just sitting doing nothing. So the captain asked me to take it back. Anyway, I went back. We took the Jeep back. And coming back, they had already signed a truce. And when they signed the truce, the line had a bend in it like this.
Right.
We were over here, and I had to go back around here. But you go a shortcut through here, which you weren't supposed to go, to get you there quicker. So I was dropped off what we had, got the reorders, sealed orders, brought him back to the captain. As I'm going back the road, I said, the hell, let's cut through here, take off about 15 miles or 10 miles or whatever the hell it might be. And we cut through there, and there's this GI thumbing a ride out there. And it's a true story. I don't tell to this many people. And who the hell was it? My brother.
You didn't know your brother were there?
No. I knew he was in the service, but I didn't know where he was.
So you just ran across?
So it was the first time I've seen him in about a year.
You just ran across him?
You just standing there. I asked him what the hell he was doing. The driver he had was a Korean, member of Rock Army. And he got scared as hell. He had his rifle out ready to shoot and everything. We weren't supposed to be there, so I couldn't argue.
What was your brother doing there?
He had gone to the dentist from where he was, and he decided he got permission from his outfit to come up and visit me, because he told his brother was up there, and the truce was on, so the captain said, sure, why not, the chaplain or whoever. I said, go ahead. So we went to the dentist, and he missed the bus, the Jeep or the truck to take him up to our outfit, where I was going.
No.
So they said it's up that way, so we got out on the road and started.
But you said that you ran across him. You didn't know your brother was there.
I didn't know he was in Korea, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. My son, when I told him later, he wrote that into Reader's Digest. They never published it, though.
You want to send that to me?
I just told you, sure. Yeah, he died. My brother's dead. So.
Did you take picture with him?
No. We didn't have any. For a long time, the outfit wouldn't allow any pictures to be taken or anything where we were. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. A lot of people had pictures. We didn't have.
So
any.
what did you do with your brother?
We had chow together, and then we went to what they call the first three greatest tent where you could have beer, and we sat there and drank beer the whole night, reminiscing about. And he wrote a letter back to our parents the next day.
Do you keep that letter?
I got a couple of pictures of us later, but my grandchildren and everybody else has confiscated them. His kids, because he died a few years ago. He was 2 years older than me.
Do you still keep any letter that you wrote?
No. My mother
or
did.
Your brothers?
No.
No?
No, we weren't into that. We didn't.
Did you write back to your parents that you met your brother?
Oh, sure, he did too.
What did you write?
We both wrote and signed the letter together. Just how we'd met.
Signed together?
We didn't go into details how we met. He came up to visit. In fact, another friend I grew up with in Belmont, my hometown, came up and visited us too. Two of them did. One of my very close friends was a medic over there in the 3rd Division.
What a story, huh?
Yeah, he came over and visited a couple of nights and got kind of a little heavy drinking, I guess. The captain we went in to say something to the captain. Oh, if he could stay over that night, I guess you had to get permission. And they had one pole in the captain's, one chair like this, very small tent. He went to salute, and he had a few to hit the pole, and the whole tent come down. He wasn't too happy. Anyway.
So had you met your old brother after that too? More times?
He when I went home, he was there. He eventually got assigned to the same outfit I was with.
Oh.
Why the hell he wanted to, I don't know. But he was back in Pusan. He was a nice deal down in Pusan. And he, I don't know, he just wanted to be up.
When did
he thought he'd get home earlier, I think, that's why.
When did you leave for the States?
September of 53. I could have got home a couple of months early because they had a point system in those days to rotate. And you needed 36 points to rotate. I had 36 points in 10 months. But they signed the truce, and they asked us, would we volunteer to step aside while all the prisoners were processed and the injured and the war and all that stuff. And I said, sure, what the hell was that? So they froze us for a couple of months, that's what they said, which turned out okay.
What was the most rewarding moment during your service?
Probably when they signed the truce.
What did you feel when?
Relief, that's for sure. We don't have to worry about being shot at anymore. They were still firing their weapons right up until I think the truce went into effect 10 o'clock on the 27th in the morning, and they were firing weapons right up until the 1 minute before. We got rid of everything we had in the tank to get rid of, and then I remember a lot of helicopters going overhead, probably news media, and couple of the Korean soldiers we had with us came over and thanked us and, gave us hugs and all that stuff. It was pretty exciting, actually. Yeah, very rewarding, very relieving. Is that what they say?
This year is the 60th anniversary of the armistice.
Yeah, we're going to have a ceremony. That's what Stan was talking
about.
Yeah.
What do you feel about the Korea still divided between North and South, and the war is still there?
Well, I feel, for what I read, and I read quite a bit about it, I feel bad for the North Koreans. I mean, from what I understand, they don't have much of a life over there. You'd know a lot more than that one, but I've seen how Korea has been built up, whether it's been overbuilt or not, I don't know. But I saw a story on Seoul, which I was in and out of quite a few times, and it's not the Seoul I remember, it's still built up.
You never been back to Korea, right?
No.
No. Do you want to go?
I wouldn't mind going, yeah. My wife died last year or so ago. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
It wouldn't be the same anymore, but yeah, I'd go back.
Here is a official from the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, and they have a revisit program. You know that, right?
I heard that. Stan went, I think, didn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go?
I wouldn't mind going, yeah.
Yeah. Let me know.
In fact, I'd love to go, but, financially, who the hell knows?
I mean, they cover most of the expenses, so.
I like that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is the legacy of Korean War and the Korean War veterans?
That's a good question. I know most of the people I dealt with in the Korean War are very proud of the service they gave, in Korea. I think the military has lost that a little bit, maybe in Vietnam or something, I don't know. But the legacy is we stopped aggression, I guess, in its tracks. It stabilized the world for a while there, but didn't last too long, I guess. So.
How do you assess the status of U.S.-Korea military alliances and economic cooperation?
Today, I understand it's pretty good. Pretty good. I'm really not into that too much, but I mean, from what I understand, it's pretty solid. You know, I think we have a lot of respect for each other. I had an interesting thing down here at a memorial, if you want to hear about it.
Yeah.
I was down there visiting it myself with my grandkids one day, and we got bricks down with the names on it and so forth, and I was showing them the brick I had. And Koreans happened to be visiting Cape Cod at that time, a busload, and they came in and they come over and they were asking, as best they could, asking me about it. And this, where was Kennedy Memorial was right next to it, right next to each other. I don't know if you've seen it yet. And they came over and they said, "Oh, what a beautiful!" And they, in numbers of 4 or 5 or so, come over and said, "Thank you very much," because I told them my name was there and I served there.
You're talking about the Highness, right? Harbor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, overlooking the harbor. And they said, "We thank you very much." And I thought I felt pretty good about that. Yeah.
You said that your military service was good to you in your life.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, I had no direction when I got out of high school. I was after this all taped here.
Yeah.
I was after 2 things, and one was booze, and the other was women. When I got mostly women and booze.
Who's not?
Well, I know it. So I mean, when I went to Boston College for about 2 months, and I didn't attend classes. It was caught my father was a hard-working laborer, telephone operator, and that wasn't fair to him. So they kicked me out of BC. So I wasn't right for college, and I was immature like anybody, 18, 19, 17, 18 years old. So I worked up Hampton Beach for a couple of summers, and that did me in. But it was fun. I enjoyed myself. But that was interesting. But when I went in the service, of course, you get disciplined. You had to do certain things. If you didn't do them, you learned in a hurry you better do them. And, and you met a lot of guys that were in the same boat you were, and we grew up together. I guess that's the best way to put it. Some terrific guys. Brothers for life, I guess.
What would you do if there is another war breaking out in the Korean Peninsula? What do you think the U.S. should do?
Well, they should honor their commitments to them. We get a heavy commitment over there. The problem is there's only, about 40,000 troops. Well, the Korean Army should be pretty up to snuff by now. The Air Force, I know, from what I understand, the Air Force is quite strong now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything that you want to leave to this interview?
No. I hope it went well.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay.
It was fun. Some things I haven't even thought about in 60 years, 50 years. Not something you talk about every day. Sorry I didn't open up a little more and stuff, but okay.
Thank you very much,
You're
Don,
welcome.
for your service.
My pleasure.